are some things we as humans do, which is thinking based on what other people tell us to think. Meaning, what other people project onto us, we start thinking is our identity, and then living to that identity for years and years, maybe our whole lifetime. Now, in order to stop this, you first need to realize that everyone goes through life differently, and everyone views you and life very different from the way you would view life and other people. Same as one person's trash is another person's treasure. And you have to start seeing these projections and really think about what they're telling you and how they really don't make sense when you go to the bottom of it. Of course, some criticism, constructive criticism, is good and it helps you work on yourself. But that doesn't mean you take what every single person tells you is, innately bad about you, and then you start changing yourself in order to fit in, because that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to be ourselves, but we're also trying to be a better version of ourselves. We're not trying to be someone who fits in, someone who's nice, someone who shrinks themselves so that others can feel comfortable around. If others don't feel comfortable around us, that's on them. That's their problem. They're being triggered. We are not responsible for their triggers. We are here to live our life and live it unapologetically. Now, anything in your past that you might have thought is embarrassing, or, you regret doing something, you should never regret doing something unless you stayed silent. That's one thing you should never be regretful of. People always are regretful of what they didn't do than what they did do. For example, you wanted to say something and you waited too long and topic moved on. Now you're, sitting there and you're like, I should have said that. What if I said that? Would that have changed something? It's the what if questions, and it's the what if this happened? What if that would have happened? You are stuck in a cycle of what ifs if you choose silence. If you actually did that, then same as living your life instead of living for others. If you had lived for yourself, wouldn't it have been more different? Wouldn't you have been more happier? I'm speaking at a point where you're done, you're you're in bed, and just what I'm trying to say is that you should never be embarrassed of what you did in the past, because past you didn't know any better. Past you thought what you did in the past was right and what was, what felt right to them. So you thinking that what they did was embarrassing and what they did was wrong was what they thought was right back then. And you maybe it didn't give you the most ideal responses, and maybe it didn't make you feel better about yourself, but what you did, it brought you to who you are today. So you shouldn't be embarrassed of who you were yesterday. You use it as a stepping stone to grow and move on forward, because who you were yesterday is not who you are today, but it did help you to get to who you are today. So don't dismiss and forget that part of you, but also don't bring it to your present. Learn the lesson and move on. Thank yourself for being who you were, and then, move on and build yourself to who you want to be tomorrow, and who you are today, right? Live in the present. Don't keep going to what's next. Don't abandon yourself to fit in, because truth is, you can't fit in to every single environment. That's NPC behavior. You can't fit in. No matter how hard you try, you can't fit in, or you can't please everyone. You can't. No one. There isn't gonna be. Okay. Yeah. There's always gonna be someone who doesn't like you. So, try and keep everyone happy is just not gonna work. And don't abandon who you are just so you can make others happy, because that's you. Because that is not a nice thing to do to yourself or anyone else, because then you're just being fake. You're not even being yourself. So what's the point of living? So what's the point of living your life when you're not even being who you are? You know? Be yourself. Live life authentically. And yes, finding yourself is hard after abandoning yourself for so long. But still, minimizing distractions, cutting off people who are not making you feel good about yourself, those are a few steps towards improving yourself and finding yourself. Spend some time in nature with your own thoughts. Talk out loud, even talk out loud. I do that all the time. I go in nature, or I just go out in the balcony and I'm just like talking to myself because I'm out there and there's like nature, and I'm just like, I'm looking up at the stars and I'm talking to myself. Well, not myself. I'm talking to God, the universe, but I am talking. It's not like in my mind, because I like talking. It's like, oh yes, I'm like speaking this out loud and my intention is going and I'm talking. Thinking does not give the same amount of intention as talking, in my opinion. Not everyone believes that, but I think it helps much more to talk. And yeah, so don't abandon yourself. And really start talking to the universe, start talking to God. Trust me, they help you. They will help you in any way, because they also want you to live your best life. Who wouldn't want that for someone they love? Who wouldn't want that, right? You're blessed. You're blessed. Start thinking about the things that you already have instead of wanting things that other people have. Because maybe you just don't want that. You don't want that thing. You want the attention, or you want the validation that comes from it. Maybe you don't really want that thing. You just want the validation that other people are giving from having that thing. So start really thinking what you already have. And then, when you show gratitude for the things you already have, you start to see that you don't really need the thing that you want, right? You don't really want the thing that you want, and maybe you feel like it's a need to have that thing, but you'll realize you don't need it because you already have so much. You're already abundant in so many ways. Why would you want that? Why would you need that? And do not give the remote control to your feelings or emotions and reactions to others, because they're gonna play with it, and then you're gonna be left there alone, broken, and you're gonna start blaming yourself, right? And that's not gonna help you, and others will probably just move on, forget about you. So there was no point letting other people control the way you feel, the way you act, the way, it's just pointless trying to make others. Putting other people on the pedestal is not gonna do you any good. Put yourself on the pedestal. Don't think you're like high and mighty and you're like better than everyone. Don't think that way. But also, don't think you're inferior to anyone. don't have that inferiority or superiority complex. We all struggle with one of those. We all struggle with both from time to time. I'm pretty sure. I have both. Yes, I have. But, yeah. Oh, and self-talk is very important. You shouldn't talk negatively. You shouldn't talk self-deprecating things about yourself. When you look in the mirror, don't look at the flaws. First thing you see should not be your flaws. It should be that you're alive. You can look in the mirror at yourself and you're breathing. I think that is the biggest miracle out of anything else in your life. That you're alive, you're breathing, and you're healthy. Some people don't have health. Some people can't look at themselves in the mirror. Some people can't breathe on their own. They need machines for them to breathe properly. Compared to them, and I don't like comparing, but you're better off than a lot of people. The fact that you can listen to this video and understand what I'm trying to say, the fact that you have internet at all is also a huge deal. When you start seeing so many things you already have, the things that you want, that you think you need, you start to realize you don't really need them because you're already abundant. And then you start working on it, and and I don't say that you shouldn't want anything or you shouldn't think you need anything, because that's not what I'm trying to say, but then it starts moving your focus onto what you truly want and not what you want for validation. And not what you want because other people have it. So, thank you for listening, and I love you guys so much. Thank you.